Going can be hard. Jesus promises to go with us, to give us the power we need, but nobody said it would be easy. Instead, Jesus warned there would be hard days, days of rejection and disappointment. But we don't go alone. Jesus told his disciples, "As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you." Our calling is to go. We have received his Spirit so that we might have power to go and make disciples. Some go to the furthest corners of the globe, some only cross the street in front of their house. Still, God's people always go. They go to work, school, grocery stores, kids' soccer games, and family reunions. And wherever they go, they take their witness of Jesus with them. True believers live going and carrying out his mission. Embrace your place. Get going. Share what you've been given. Jesus didn't wait until his ascension to send his disciples out. Even while he was still with them, he gave them a taste of what was to come. Jesus gathered a group of his followers and sent them out in pairs to the surrounding towns. They went to prepare the work Jesus wanted to do in each of those places. They did see and participate in miraculous things, but Jesus wasn't naive. He warned them, "Remember that I am sending you out as lambs among wolves." Jesus knew that there were physical risks to traveling in the ancient world, but he also knew that his followers would face plenty of rejection. They would not always be welcome. Ministry would be hard. So he encouraged them to keep going. Don't give up. Jesus also explained, "The harvest is great, but the workers are few." Perhaps Jesus should have sent them out individually. He could have doubled their impact. Why send them out in pairs when individually they could cover twice as much ground? I'm sure Jesus had plenty of reasons for his decision, but certainly he understood that community is central to our participating and working in his kingdom. There are so few lone rangers in the mission of God. When Jesus' disciples went, they took others with them. It's still that way. You may receive some individual sense of calling, but start that work and you will quickly find yourself among others. God's calling has always lived in the context of God's people. We go forth together. We shouldn't be naive either about the challenges of following and serving Jesus in our day. It's just as easy for us to get discouraged and worn out. The work still isn't easy. Our witness is still rejected and often ignored. Try doing that work alone and you will quickly find yourself overwhelmed and worn out. So God calls us to missions as a community. We support one another, encourage one another, affirm one another, pray for one another, and sacrifice to help one another. It's easy to think of our calling almost entirely individualistically. We think about our role, our place, what God is telling us to do. Certainly God does speak to us as individuals and calls us into unique work, but we never do it alone, and we should be careful to avoid thinking we can. One of the great gifts of going about the work God has given us is cultivating relationships with those he has called alongside us. From the pairs of disciples Jesus sent out to the mission trips of people like Paul and Barnabas and others, we serve best with others. It's worth asking, have you been thinking about your calling too individualistically? If you look around, you can find ways God is surrounding you with other men and women to both serve and serve with. Don't neglect that gift. The work is hard. The harvesters are few. It is a remarkable gift to be able to take up that work together. So as you go forth into the work God has called you to, how can you do it together?